Let's ask Dan Primack. He's the business editor at Axios. Dan, it's great to see you. What do you think this is really about?
I think, look, would Musk like to get OpenAI and buy it? Sure, of course he would. He's got a competing company. OpenAI is still in the U.S. the leader when it comes, particularly on the consumer-facing side of artificial intelligence. But I think this is really a little bit of trolling by Musk. And remember, the two sides, Musk and OpenAI, have been in litigation for a while. Musk was an original backer of OpenAI when it was a nonprofit, and he's been making the argument that the for-profit shift he feels is improper.
One of the theories that I've heard, Dan, is that Musk is doing this so that it's much more expensive for Sam to try to wrest back majority control of the company. By putting this number out there publicly, it makes it harder for Sam Altman to say, OK, well, for a fraction of that, because is Microsoft with a majority control or 49%, something like that?
Yeah, it's about 50-50. Microsoft, on the one hand, yes, it does, right? Musk has, it seems, set a price floor. Because for those who don't know, OpenAI currently has a nonprofit structure, and it's going to kind of split off that nonprofit board from the for-profit assets, which basically means that Sam has to, and his people have to buy those assets from the nonprofit. What's important to note, though, is nonprofits aren't like regular companies, right? They don't have shareholders. The boards don't have fiduciary duties the same way that for-profits do. So they don't necessarily have to, for example, take the best price, which is what we saw back when Elon tried to buy Twitter. The board was kind of forced to do it and then forced to force Musk into buying Twitter because the price was so high. They have a lot more discretion, and Sam controls that board.
So because it's a nonprofit, they might not be forced to take that price.
They might not be, right? Again, you're not going to have shareholders who object and bring them to court and say, wait a minute, you undervalued my stock. There is no stock in the traditional sense. But look, but is he trying to make life more difficult for Altman? Absolutely. And even if it just slows Sam and OpenAI down a bit, that's good for Musk and for XAI.
And Dan, let me just turn it back to you. In that note, he says something to the effect of he doesn't want any one individual to take control of this company. But what if he wanted that one individual to be Sam? What happens now?
Well, if he did, Sam's situation there is complicated, right? He doesn't own the company from an equity perspective, the way, Musk seems to be wanting to do, or the way we traditionally think of somebody controlling a company. But he certainly controls the board. Remember, he was fired, about a year and a half ago, and then he came back in. It is kind of his hand-picked board, so it depends on what you mean by control.
And what did you think about the whole Stargate thing when President Trump announced it without Musk there and then flattered Altman with all of this praise?
Yeah, look, that had to really burn Musk, right? Which I think is driving this a little bit in part, right? Musk is obviously very tight with the Trump White House. He is physically within the Trump White House. And when Trump did Stargate, he was kind of saying, he didn't say it in these exact terms, this is more a European idea, but really saying OpenAI is kind of our national champion in this. And Musk certainly wants to nip that in the bud if he at all can.
Right. Of course, he has a competing company, which is basically, what do we call the company? It's XAI, right? Even though it's basically taking X, using Grok, the model and using that platform to train the LLMs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and they're definitely competitive. Again, structured differently, both from a financial perspective and even from a tech perspective, open versus closed, but they are absolutely competitors.